The Oculus Quest is an amazing achievement. It's an actual full proper VR headset, self-contained in this one neat little unit. And it comes with full proper 6 degree of freedom motion controls, all wrapped up in this one neat package with no wires, self-contained, but more importantly, it's surprisingly good. It's full of compromises for sure, but I think Oculus has really hit a sweet spot here. They've made something that's actually viable for the mass market without sacrificing too much of the experience. This may very well be the headset you've been waiting for. I'm James Bruce, you're watching Make Use Of Reviews. Keep watching to find out what I thought of the Oculus Quest. At $400, it's still not cheap by any means, and that's just for the basic 64GB storage model. For 128 gigabytes, you'll be paying $500. However, once you factor in the fact that you don't need a PC to play with it, I think it's remarkably good value, especially considering the fantastic out-of-box experience that you get. Let's start with some specs. The Quest weighs 571 grams, which is a little heavier than the original Rift, though in fairness, there's a whole computer in here too. And it features a semi-rigid headband, reminiscent of the original Rift. It pulls out and over your head, then to remove again, just pull the whole thing forwards. It's easy to understand, and for the length of time you'll likely be playing it, I don't think you'll have issues with comfort. I also found it pretty easy to adjust and to find a sweet spot. Unlike the newest Rift S model, the Quest has an adjustable IPD, a physical slider which you can change to accommodate your IPD. And you can do that without sacrificing visual quality or field of view. Speaking of field of view, there's nothing groundbreaking in that department. It's about the same 100 degree roughly as the Vive or the Rift or the Oculus Go. There's no fancy new lens technology in here, no massive screen, so it's about what you'd expect. However, it's not an exact science, and the exact field of view that you get is going to depend how far it is from your eyes, whether you wear glasses, whether you've got a different facial interface on, but it's about 100 degrees. They do include a glasses spacer in the box, which you can use if you have larger glasses and need to move the headset a little bit further away from your face. However, my glasses are fairly discreet and I found I didn't need to use it at all. The resolution is 1440 by 1600 per eye. That's compared to 1080 by 1200 of the original Rift, and it's significantly higher. And that was probably the first thing I really noticed. The Oculus Go, for reference, was 1280 by 1440 per eye. Regardless, it's absolutely beautiful. But the lenses they've gone with do still mean that there are some God rays with high contrast scenes. So running the screen at 72 Hz rather than 80 or 90 on the original Rift was one of the sacrifices that they needed to make in order to get performance down to the level they needed it at. So I should say I haven't really noticed that at all, but I'm expecting as soon as I get the Valve Index and start experiencing 120 or 144 Hz, then I'm probably going to realize the difference more. For now, coming from 90 or 80 from the Go down to 72 doesn't really seem to make much of a difference. Didn't give me eye strain or anything like that. Your experience, however, may vary, and as ever, before buying any headset, I would strongly suggest that you go and demo it. Check it out down at Best Buy or any of the other retailers that are currently demoing the Rift S and the Quest. Everyone has their own individual tolerances when it comes to screens and resolutions and things in VR, and it's really something that you do need to test yourself first, rather than just relying on the word of some random guy on YouTube. Also, like the Oculus Go, there are no headphones included in the set. Instead, the audio is sort of piped through the sides, comes from inside here. It's pretty tinny, there's a complete lack of bass, and to be honest, it doesn't sound great at all. It's functional, don't get me wrong, it absolutely works. You can hear things clearly, but the distinct lack of bass is really annoying in things like Beat Saber. You're probably going to want to get the in-ear headphones at the very least, which plug into the left and the right with a little mono cable so you don't have too many cables dangling around, or add in your own pair of headphones. Charging is done through a USB-C port, and Oculus does provide a 5-volt 3-amp fast charger in the box. You should use that, it charges it very quickly. I found that trying to use a regular just sort of 1-amp phone charger overnight, it didn't actually charge it to full. So there's clearly a hefty battery in here, and it does need something fast to charge it. In terms of battery life, a full charge will get you around 2.5 to 3 hours of continuous gaming, which is pretty good actually. And in the box, they do include a 6-foot USB cable, which is very generous and means that you can plug it in and continue playing, though of course you're going to be tethered to the charger. However, that is a really nice inclusion, and I applaud Oculus for putting that in the box. You can also of course just plug it into a battery pack, throw that in your back pocket, and it'll work like that too. The 2 motion controllers included in the set feel very similar to the original touch controllers from the Rift, in that they have the same capacitive buttons which track when your fingers are even touching them, not just pressing them in, but just touching them. The main difference if you're coming from the Rift is that the tracking rings have been moved from the bottom of the controller to the top. And this is in order to accommodate the new inside-out tracking system, which doesn't use external webcams to track where your controllers are. A single AA battery in each controller provides more than enough power to last a very long time. In fact, since getting the device, I haven't changed the batteries yet. So these controllers are in fact the same as the ones sold with the latest Rift S iteration of the PC tethered headset that Oculus makes. They are interchangeable, so if you were to buy both headsets and break the controllers from one, you would be able to swap it over from the other. They are the exact same model, same tracking system, everything is identical. With regards to the controller tracking, I was pleasantly surprised. And I say that because I've had a pretty horrible experience with Windows Mixed Reality before, which uses the same basic inside-out tracking system via cameras on the headset. The difference is that on the Oculus Quest, it actually works, and works pretty well. The crucial difference is that there are 4 tracking cameras on the headset itself, situated on the top 2 corners here, and then a little bit further inwards on the bottom 2 corners as well. Now this means that you can move the controllers a lot more to the sides rather than just in front of you. So there's less of the controllers disappearing when you bring it behind your head. Now there were some hiccups here and there. It's not absolutely perfect, I'll tell you that now. In games like Beat Saber, for instance, I did find that it would lose tracking momentarily. Sometimes I would miss a beat, although I'm not entirely sure I can put that down to tracking or just me being rubbish at the game. Generally though, I really didn't have problems, and I have to say that Oculus has restored my trust in the whole inside-out tracking system, and I am seriously considering replacing my old Rift with a Rift S now too. So it's not just the controllers that are tracked using inside out. These cameras, of course, they also look at your surroundings the entire time and try to figure out where the headset is, as well as the controllers. And generally, I found that that was absolutely flawless on the headset. The only time I lost tracking was when the light was too dark to be able to see around properly. That said, the inside out tracking system does have some flaws. You can't use it in really bright light because the bright light infrared will overpower the LEDs on the controllers. The headset can't see the controllers. And equally, it won't work in very dark areas because although there it's easy to see the infrared from the controllers, the headset itself won't be able to see your surroundings with sufficient detail to be able to figure out where this is. And in that case, it just turns off the display completely. It says, no, I don't know where you are. So you have to sort of find a bit of Goldilocks light, really. Not too bright, not too dark. So at the moment, that's a little bit annoying for watching movies because it means you can't black out the light, and there is still quite a lot of light leak coming in both underneath, and I also found at the sides a bit. That's going to vary with your head shape, of course. However, Oculus has said that they're working on an update in which if there's not enough light in the room to be able to position the headset, it will fall back to 3 degrees of freedom, just like the Oculus Go. So you can turn out the lights, you won't be able to move around, but you will still be able to use it with rotational tracking only. I did in fact test outside once the sun had gone down. Don't worry, there was no chance of light burning through the lenses into the screen, and that worked really well. However, you are limited to around 25 feet squared of play space at the moment. So don't be thinking you're going to be running around a sort of football field size space. As of right now, there is a hard limit to the Guardian boundary that you can set up. So large outdoor spaces, epic warehouse scale things, that's not going to happen quite yet. And I'm not sure if that limit is going to be increased in the future. So another thing that I really like about these cameras is the fact that it allows for stereo video pass-through of your surroundings. And this was something that kind of surprised me. I've had it for a while on the Vive, but it's only been monoscopic, and to be honest, I turned it straight off because it seemed kind of useless. On this, it's really done well and it's really useful. The way it works is that if you're in an unfamiliar area or if you step outside your Guardian boundaries, it will immediately show you a pass-through video of the world around you. It is in black and white, there's a tiny bit of lag, it's a little bit zoomed out, but it's perfectly possible to do things like grab a drink, walk around, interact with the world around you, and it's really quite mind-blowing. It's not just technically impressive, it's just incredibly useful to not have to be constantly pulling off the headset just to grab a drink. And it's in this pass-through mode that you draw the Guardian boundaries too. It's just one of those little features that I didn't really know I wanted until I had it. Now I don't think I could live without it. So considering this is just a mid-range mobile phone with the Snapdragon 835 inside, which is what, 3 years old at this point, it's pretty impressive what they've managed to get, the performance they can get out of it. And there's a couple of reasons for that. The first is through the use of active cooling. It turns out that the biggest performance limitation on modern smartphones is not the processor, in fact, it's the cooling, because they're trying to passively cool everything inside a tiny little thing that thick. Once you're able to put a fan on it, which you can't hear by the way, but it's in there, once you can do that and you can actively cool the system, you can really overdrive it to much higher speeds and get much better performance out of it. Secondly, they're using fixed foveated rendering, which means that the greatest clarity, the best resolution and detail is in the center of your vision. In some games, if you try and look towards the outside of your vision, you'll see it gets a little bit more pixelated. And that means that they're only rendering the bit that actually matters while everything else is just in your periphery. Mostly though, you're not going to notice that because you're not going to be moving your eyes around. The sweet spot is in the middle, like all current generation headsets. You want to look straight forward, and to look around you move your head, not your eyes. To be honest, I'm blown away by how much developers have, well, optimized for the Oculus Quest. Case in point, Rec Room. It's basically the full Rec Room game at a slightly lower resolution, less visual effects, less fanciness, but you know what? It's all there. It's actually Rec Room, and I'm just as good as that as I am on desktop. The tracking hasn't been a problem for me. The lack of details hasn't been a problem. In fact, if anything, there's actually a better resolution on here than I have on the Vive. So I'm even better when it comes to sniping. And I think that's really credit to the developers for just optimizing the heck out of it. Because honestly, this is underpowered. It's the same with Beat Saber. Exactly the same game, just with less overall visual polish. A little less effects, a bit less shininess, less particles, that sort of thing. The rest of it is basically all there. You can even sideload custom songs now, I believe. And if you do have a PC that you want to try tethering this to, check out an app called ALVR. Which is not perfect yet. It's going to have a little bit of lag due to your wireless. You'll want a good wireless connection, and then it's going to stream things from your PC to the headset. It works, but it's still in development, so bear that in mind. So, should you buy the Oculus Quest? Well, if you've been holding out on buying a headset because you can't afford a PC to go with it, then this may absolutely be the one that you've been waiting for. If you want something portable that you can easily take out to demos, set up with absolutely no issues at all, or to take on aeroplanes when you travel, then this is also your best option. It's fantastically easy to set up with no external sensors required. Everything is self-contained in here. Just put it on your head, pick up a controller, and you're done. Even if you want to just lie in bed and watch movies and were considering the Oculus Go, I would definitely recommend getting the Quest instead. Now it is twice the price. However, for a couple of $100, I think you're throwing away a great opportunity to experience everything that VR has to offer, and not just that media watching experience. You will be missing out on some absolutely amazing games that you may not have known you wanted yet. At the very least, do go demo it, give it a chance and see what you think. Of course, if you have a gaming PC already, there's probably very little reason to buy the Oculus Quest. you're either going to go for the Rift S or the Valve Index, depending on your budget more than anything. For the exact same price, $400, you can get the Oculus Rift S, which is cabled, tethered to your PC, but you're going to have access to a much wider range of games and quality experiences through both the Oculus Store and Steam VR. Would I recommend selling a PlayStation VR and buying the Oculus Quest instead? Yes, the resolution is better. Yes, it's more portable and you don't need the PlayStation 2, but I probably wouldn't consider upgrading yet. You already have a pretty decent VR headset, just enjoy that one for now. To be honest, in the past I probably would have laughed at you if you said that there was any future at all in mobile VR. Let's face it, Google Cardboard and the Daydream successor has been an absolute joke, and even Google doesn't like to talk about those anymore. I can guarantee that if you meet someone on the street and they say, "Oh, I've tried VR, it was horrible, I didn't like that at all." No, you've tried Google Cardboard, please don't call that VR, it's not. But the Oculus Quest, this is real VR. This, you can wave your arms around, you can move around. This is actual proper VR, and it's not going to give people a terrible experience and put them off VR for life. This is both a fantastic entry point, and even for me, who has like all the headsets, you know, I don't always want to come down into my little gaming room and shut myself off from the world. Sometimes I want to just hang out in the living room or in the kitchen, wherever where I'm not tethered to a PC. And for this, that's absolutely perfect. Anyway, thanks for watching this review. I do hope it's helped you to learn a little bit more about the Oculus Quest and whether it's the headset for you. If so, please hit like, and if not, head on down to the comments and we'll talk about it. Please consider subscribing. We do 2 or 3 giveaways and reviews every single week, as well as the occasional buying guide, technology tips, tricks, and tutorials from all of us over at makeuseof.com. Until next time.